Central Florida. Currently, I am enrolled in my final capstone interdisciplinary studies class in the spring 2013 semester. For this class, I was assigned a volunteer experience whereby I am to generate a research problem and an answer to this problem for the purpose of showing how to utilize and solve everyday problems through my knowledge in interdisciplinary studies. For my volunteer work, I chose an organization known as Teen Challenge, which is an organization center for young men who, instead of going to jail, enter and recover and rehabilitate from illegal substance and alcohol abuse. Last year, a group from Teen Challenge came to my church, Tallahassee Heights First United Methodist, and each young man shared his experience with alcohol and drug addiction and how the Teen Challenge organization was thankfully there for them so that they would have a place to properly recover. Teen Challenge is the oldest, largest, and most successful program of its kind in the world. Established in 1958 by David Wilkerson, Teen Challenge has grown to more than 170 centers in the United States and 250 centers worldwide. Their mission is to offer life transformation to individuals through Christ centered programs. Their purpose is to be a place where life transformation happens. The director of the Teen Challenge is Tallahassee Pastor Travis Moran. The admissions coordinator is Jason Gomez, and he is who assisted me with my volunteer assignment. My main job was to volunteer my skills for Teen Challenge 10-mile walkathon. This included, but was not limited to, emailing and calling local vendors for food. Here I entered on a message on Facebook to all of my friends and asked them if they would donate a food item. So many of my friends and family chipped in. We had everything from brownies, bananas, energy bars, hot dogs, and chips to cookies. I was also responsible for collecting drinks, so I emailed Coca Cola and they graciously donated over 100 bottles of water and 35 bottles of Powerade, which I picked up from our local distributor. Additionally, I had to get decorations. Here I contacted our local Party City and they gave 10 free balloons and 3 colors of ribbon. I also raised $175 in donations between friends, family, and myself. I also contacted Awards for You, and they donated 30 free ribbons for the race participants. The organization is nonprofit and depends on donations and charitable gifts to stay in business. On top of the monies I raised, the students who walked raised money from individual donators for every mile that they walked. They also sold handmade religious items like crosses and bracelets, as well as food and beverage items. Although I only walked 2 miles myself, I did stay for the whole race to watch the guys finish, to cheer them on, and to pin on their ribbons. Overall, the race was a great success. On a separate occasion, I also spent time with a small group of Teen Challenge students to discuss my research project, and it was here I asked them a few questions about why they were at the Teen Challenge Center. One question I asked was what substance they were rehabilitating from. From a criminal justice standpoint, I thought it would be interesting to see what illegal substances were most attractive to these teens. Answers varied from marijuana, heroin, cocaine, pills, and alcohol. I then asked if they'd been in trouble with the criminal justice system or the law, and they all had been incarcerated at minimum 3 times each, and all were court ordered to enter this program. It is apparent by these results that the legal system finds Teen Challenge an alternate home for these youth instead of sending them to prison. Finally, I asked what they thought was something they wished would change about the center so that the staff could better serve them. 5 of the 8 boys said they wish they had access to more educational classes, such as classes on how to write a resume or perform an interview, art classes, or music classes. They all said that the only thing they really do currently is eat, work, pray, study, and work some more. Before I left our session, I sat with the boys and used the discipline that I am most familiar with, and that is English creative writing. I've always used creative writing as a form of therapy and release, and so I thought by educating them on how to write a certain poem, they could do the same. In this session, I showed them how to write a full circle poem. There were 9 of us at the table, so I had the first 3 boys write a line of the poem that talked about a fun part of abusing drugs. Then the next 3 wrote a line about hitting rock bottom. And then finally, the last 3 of us wrote a recovery line whereby Jesus and the Teen Challenge Center helped them to get to recovery. The poem turned out amazing, and all the boys requested copies, which I gave to them and framed. With everything I had experienced with the young men in the center, with the walkathon and our poetry writing session, it occurred to me that in my city alone, there are 40 teens living in the Teen Challenge Rehabilitation Program Center and thousands more across the United States. Teen addiction is a serious problem. This helped me to form my research question. My research question being, how does the Teen Challenge Center hope to rehabilitate the students in Teen Challenge so that they can be released from the program and not relapse? The primary source I am going to use is an interview. I actually gave the interview on the day of the race, or the walkathon, to the director of the Teen Challenge program here in Tallahassee. Again, the director's name is Pastor Travis Moran. I felt he was an integral person to interview because not only was he in charge of the center, but he was also a pastor and was also a longtime heroin addict who considers himself still in recovery. I needed him to educate me on the problems the Teen Challenge Center faces and the steps they take to ensure that their system of rehabilitation will work to prevent these teens from relapsing once they leave the program. He gave me a multitude of answers, including education on the consequences of relapse, teaching the words of Jesus Christ and how to live a Christ centered life, education on steps to avoid peer pressure. But the number one answer he gave was that the organization itself is nonprofit, and without volunteers and donations, the organization can't stay in business. Without the Teen Challenge Center, these youth will not only have to suffer withdrawals in prison, but will spend extended years of their lives behind bars with no education on how to rehabilitate. Here I came up with a solution to the problem. The problem is an interdisciplinary one because there are many disciplines involved in coming up with an answer. No one answer will solve this problem, but for the sake of this project, I came up with an idea for starting an internship program. There currently is not one set up at the Teen Challenge Center in Tallahassee, Florida. My idea was that since there is such a great need for volunteerism and free services, that should be a focus point for helping the establishment stay in business. Currently at the center, there is also no volunteer coordinator. In speaking with Pastor Moran, I advised that there are 4 large colleges in our city: Florida State University, Florida A&M University, Tallahassee Community College, and Flagler University. At each college, there are several students who need service hours to fulfill internship and volunteer hours. Teen Challenge would be a perfect organization for accountants, religious students, social workers, psychologists, philanthropists, music and art therapists, etc., to come volunteer their time and talents and get school credit at the same time. With this program, more volunteers will be present daily. Each volunteer will also have their own connections for more donations and more outreach for the organization. This could lead to more fundraisers and more events and more donations. More money means the organization can stay open for these youth who need their help rehabilitating from substance abuse. Here also, each of the students would get to experience different disciplines being taught at the center from those different college undergrad and graduate students. They could experience art and music classes, those writing classes that they need for resumes, which could also broaden their interests, and that is something that is necessary to take their mind off of doing drugs. Teen Challenge is about rehabilitation, and to best serve these students, they need to be in business for them. Thank you so much for the opportunity to do this project. This is Jessica Petronasi.